Society, celebrating together so joyfully. Let's pour out from our kind souls. There is no place for inflated egos. This place is home to you and me. Surroundings familiar, a community. Let's write the words from our minds. All those adventures will be sublime. This group belongs to the member poets, caring and sharing those precious moments. Share some tears, emotions displayed without anxiety or fear. Quill and Parchment Society, elevating poets, touching souls, celebrating community. Oh.
Welcome everybody. Zach, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, man? Good to be here.
Fantastic. Gonna say hi to the crowd we're drawing here. A couple of Parchies and my buddy Brooks have joined us. Welcome, Merv, Brooks.
Welcome.
Yep, good to see you guys here. So this is what we're gonna do, being the inaugural show, the first real show. This is what we're going to do. We're going to read some front page picks from our group on All Poetry. We're titled The Quill and Parchment Society. You can find us there if you're interested in what we do and all that. But before we get started with the poetry, there's a few things we need to let you folks know out there. We have some folks within our group that have stepped up and taken on some added responsibility. Started this out with a vision, and the vision was ownership for everybody. Zach being one of the primary ones. Zach, your help here, I tell you all the time, I couldn't do this without you. Need somebody like you that's willing to read poetry and comment.
Always a pleasure, man.
And do it live. Oh, it is. Yeah, it really is. There's also some other folks doing some work too. Merv, since you're here, I'll go ahead and mention you next. The things you're doing with Discord, running the music part of the group and things like that, and also encouraging and directing and guiding and helping in every way. It's much appreciated. This is what we think of when we think about community. Everybody doing things that they can do to help. Merv, Yumpy, Deborah Leo 5 has joined us too as our greeter. And that is an important role too, because everybody wants to be welcomed when they join a group. and figure out what's going on and stuff. There's a whole bunch of exciting stuff actually that's coming down the pipe here. And this being the first episode of our podcast is only one thing that we do. There's all sorts of other things. Merv's actually got a on his Discord page there for the group that he's running, a link for maybe garnering some interest in publications, and we'll see how that goes as it progresses. But doing a group publication of poetry is the thought, at least right now, sometime down the road. And that's a wonderful thing too. Hey, Tressa, I see you're here. I was just getting ready to mention you. Perfect timing. Tressa is the first lady Parchie that has said anything to us about reading and commenting. And we did a dry run yesterday, and she did fantastic, didn't she, Zach?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were both very impressed, like a natural. Way to go, Tressa, and we're hoping to. That leads right into this. Some more voices, some more readers, some more commenters from the group. If you have any interest, contact Zach, myself, or any of the aforementioned coordinators, and we'll get you to the right person, and we'll start having that conversation, and we'll figure it out. And Tressa did a fine job, and it was on the fly, too. Me and Zach were just practicing yesterday, and all of a sudden, Tressa was there reading poetry. So anybody can do it, guys. All you got to do is just give us a call, and we'll sort it out. We'll get you online here to join us. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else have I missed anything that you can think of, Zach?
Oh, aside from everything that you've mentioned, all the Parchies that are following along at home, could definitely and elsewhere could find us. What we're reading on the topic board up top under the reading podcast episode 1 front page picks on the topic board. It's at the very top, just so you folks know.
I knew I'd forget that disclaimer. Thanks, Zach. So, I suppose we're going to have to read some poetry at some point in time, since we keep promising it, huh, Zach?
Sure, absolutely. Sounds good to me.
I'm gonna tell you, Zach. I didn't realize when we first started compiling this list, I put my poem on there to show folks where to go. I would prefer that it not be read first. But
yes.
It's totally up to you. I don't want to cause us any confusion in where we're going here and there, but I feel like somebody else should always lead off the show. So if you don't mind going down to the next one and then
not at
back
all.
to mine, that puts us in the rhythm, right?
Right.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. So whenever you're ready.
Okay. First up, we have Equinan's poem, Horses and Fields, and I'll get that to read. The sky was azure like aquamarine. The sun was a golden ball. Its rays were glaring bright, and it was burning us all. There were beautiful horses in fields. They were playing and running free. I came to feed and caress them, and they were nuzzling me. They ran like the breeze, and like lightning you saw them pass all the blossoming trees, and their coats glistened like a gem. End poem.
That sure was beautiful and short. The great thing about this piece that Anne wrote, and I'm going to divulge your secret. Anne likes horses. Equinan is her name, her pen name on all poetry, and she really writes so eloquently on the subject because she knows things, and she describes them in a way that is so free and whimsical and wonderful. And this is no different from what I've read from Anne when she's talking about horses and her love of horses, the majestic creature. You know, it's really neat to see somebody hone in on those details and then paint this picture with it that is like a snapshot on the cover of a book or something. So I really thought Anne did a fantastic job with this little short piece, and it was sweet. It really was sweet. It was a beautiful picture she painted, and it was a great read too. Zach, what are your thoughts?
I thought that the colors initially drew me in for sure. The sky azure like aquamarine. Like a very vibrant shade of blue, I thought, and the sun like a golden ball, and the rays glaring bright. I mean, I just like that stanza that's set up for the setting quite a bit. Very colorful sky, and you could kind of imagine the sun beaming down upon the horses, and the speaker just attending to them as almost in a dreamlike setting. There's something like almost pristine about the atmosphere to the poem, and I could imagine running like the breeze and the lightning. I like that. So like the forces of nature, they are horses. I really appreciated that, and nature's gift truly. And yeah, I just I thoroughly enjoyed this one from Anne. And that was next up, I believe, is you, Bill. And that's Gibsonton, Florida, City Confidential. Oh, I'm so sorry. You had a comment.
Oh boy, my unmute button didn't work. I hit that sucker 4 times. I hit it 4 times, Zach. I swear I was on that button, and it would not unmute. And I was like, "Holy crap!"
I thought right
Okay,
ahead.
where
I'm
we
so
at?
sorry. I'm back at Tresses, or not Tresses. Equine Anne's poem. Sorry. Yeah.
I commented first.
Oh, you did?
We're good.
Oh.
We're ready to move on. I think you
Right
had
on.
it at Gibsonton, Florida, right?
Yes.
Okay. If that's the worst we do, we're doing good, aren't we? Gibsonton, Florida, City Confidential by Unexpected Bill. Where do they go when the circus is over? When tents have collapsed and the rides are left rusting? Do the freaks and geeks just retire like us with pensions and insurance in condos along the beach? Is there a place they're no longer judged? Nobody gazing upon oddities? Life becomes normal, a community. There is a place I learned of long ago, Gibsonton, Florida, real home of the freak show. A small town feel, nobody thinks twice. Your neighbors may be weird, but their neighbors are nice. Lobster Boy, General Thumb, Bearded Lady. Styles was his last name. His first name was Grady. A married man, despite his affliction, mean and unkind, slave to his addiction. Grady met his fate, 2 bullets in the head. Love triangle collapsed. Lobster Boy was shot dead. His wife had enough. Her heart was aflutter. This love triangle conspiracy got clarified like butter. Barnum and Bailey didn't see the potential. Murder porn, intrigue, conspiracy on A&E. Gibsonton, Florida, City Confidential. In poem.
Wow. I do remember this one vaguely, but only vaguely because it hits me in a certain way. I thought that the piece really humanizes a kind of marginalized crowd, freaks. You know, they get a bad reputation. Unfortunately, there's a lot of media that disparages them. But this one actually does not. And in that respect, it reminds me of Elephant Man, and humanizes the struggle of them and its heart of the freaks. I mean, I use that word, and they themselves, many of them use that themselves. So I don't use that in a disparaging way. It's very heart wrenching, right? Because when their struggles are very, because of the atmosphere that they're in, it's almost as if everyone knows about it in a way, because it draws a crowd. So unfortunately, I think that some aspects of their lives or the private lives are a bit more zeroed in or under a microscope than others. So it just they kind of just become like attention for the media rather than showcasing the human vibrancy that they possess. And I think that this poem does that extremely well.
That's exactly what I was trying to do there, Zach. In a lot of ways, you are correct. And this was written for a contest a long time ago, whenever I wrote it. And the contest was about circus performers and things like that. And we could pick anything we did. And I thought back to a show I watched when I was fairly young, probably it's still in high school. And it was City Confidential on A&E. And that's the reason why I ended it with credits. But really capturing the idea was nobody really wonders, when the circus isn't in town, where do those performers live? Where is their normal? Where do they go home and relax? They're dehumanized. And the difference between freaks and geeks are freaks are born with anomalies. Geeks have a talent that's outside the box. Sword swallowers, fire breathers, things like that. But there's no compassion. There was no compassion back. This stuff has happened for years back in medieval days. They would pay to see freaks and geeks and stuff like that. And then there was a change with Barnum and Bailey where some of these folks could make a living. They could really make a living, and it empowered them. And then they went down to this place and they established a home when they're not traveling with the circus. And it's Gibsonton, Florida. And it is a place where literally there are people like us that are right next door to freaks and geeks that are traveling in the circus. And it's not derogatory anymore, but it was very derogatory, and people were very inconsiderate to these folks with disabilities and genetic things and stuff like that. So this one was an interesting write for me, and I really enjoyed writing it and sharing it this way. And by and large, it was accepted well. What do we got next, Zach?
All right. Next up, we have Tressa Rose's poem, and that's called Patchwork, and I'll get that to read. They saw me as plain and unremarkable, like the gray line of a pencil on paper, colorless and dull, opposite of life, something that could be easily erased. I could have been, in a way, I suppose, having not had a love like yours, unawakened to what Pandora hid, until you touched me with the might of Midas, each kiss placed like a perfect patch, arranging itself like a second skin, building its own unique quilt of color, sprouting wings like a fairy I start to fly, lilac lips pressing against my every inch, spots of sun rays break through willing cracks, soft glimmering petals bloom with dewdrops, delicately sprouting in patterns of lace, while other pieces rain sweet warm caramel as if it has become my essence flowing. I am not ordinarily. I say, as I move into rhythm, my body dances, embodying truth and wonder and poem.
Hey, really good read, Zach. I like the rhythm of that too. The prompt that Tressa chose here is a body painted, a female body painted, and it's kind of cool how she took that and then used all those colors as a kind of amalgamation of what she feels like is represented in falling in love and being in love and figuring out that those patches come together to make the whole, and the whole being a good thing, not a damaged thing over time and stuff like that, because there's an awakening, unawakened to what Pandora hid. So once that's discovered, then the positive stuff starts coming through. Spots of sun rays break through willing cracks. I liked it that it just kind of hinted at a sensuality, but it stayed in that newfound self and love through the forming love and growing love. That was the cool part of this piece. There's a very positive growing love that is represented by it. Zach, what are your thoughts?
I thought that this was a very delicate piece. I loved it. I thought that it was beautiful, even initially with the gray and plain speaker starting out almost like a line on a like graphite, and then being touched in a certain way by love and blooming into color. There's so much more detail that and within that color, there's so much vibrancy, and that the speaker sort of sprouts wings and flies. So there's a kind of a transformation there that in a very literal sense of what love can do, literal and emotional. There's this awesome sort of metamorphosis that takes place, and it's almost kind of psychedelic in all of the imagery that takes place around it, with the soft glimmering petals and dewdrops around, and you could really imagine the sun kind of dancing around the air and just capturing the motes around the sort of just the atmosphere in general. I just really enjoyed it. It's really cool. Thanks for sharing this.
Really like the word you used to describe it too, Zach. Delicate. It was very delicate. So what do we got now, man?
Next up, we have Scarlet Knight's poem, and that's called Blackbird Goldfish. That's yours, Reed.
Oh, I will give it a go. A hard shell cocooning me. That's the first thing I remember. My siblings screaming for mama to feed them. Someone pecks my egg curiously. The liquid spills out. They rip the top half off. I can't breathe anymore. I can't move. Mama, something's wrong with this one. Flight lessons. My siblings flapping, lifting off, soaring. But my wings won't lift me. They're so heavy, and I can't breathe enough to keep flapping them. Try harder, sweetie. You'll get it eventually. Food. My siblings bring me food. Well after Mama cannot return home. They're starting to forget now. More time spans between their appearances. If only I could fly. What's wrong with me? Winds rising, ripping, sticks out of the nest. Shaking me, lifting me. I'm flying. I'm flapping my inexperienced wings, trying to guide me, but I am flung haphazardly along with the gale, falling, splash. I can breathe. My wings cut through the water, propelling me forward. I can finally fly. I can finally eat. Nothing's wrong with me. Signed the goldfish in the blackbird nest. End poem. Boy, that was interesting. Give it a go, Zach.
Oh wow!
If you're ready.
Sure. I was struck by the personification of this poem, and and the title reminds me of like a Dr. Seuss almost, but the content itself not so much. It's very much more involved than that. And I initially there's like a claustrophobic quality to the egg that you could see the speaker, the bird, the blackbird, sort of becoming, and I think like almost like there's a sense of being the egg being tampered with and just being stuck in place, and of course the dreadful mama, something's wrong with this one, and it almost gives a sense of I know this is these are eggs, but it almost feels like the speaker is in a sense the runt of the litter because of the siblings flapping along, like lifting off, like trying to help the speaker in a way. And I like that sense of camaraderie. And there's a subsequent quote, "Try harder, you'll get there eventually." And further along, the speaker requires a little bit more assistance from the others in terms of food. and survival, I think. And sometimes I think that mimics in nature certain species that provide for their offspring, that they compensate by helping, the all everyone, in a sense of like a communal bond almost, because it's a very strong family bond. I sense within this poem. And there's a sense of like being lost, but not lost, and like wandering but not lost, a sense. And something like that. And a sense that something is wrong, but by the end of it there isn't anything wrong. I like that, especially because there's like a change by the end of the poem. Like by the end of it, it seems like the juvenile becomes an adult. And I really like this sort of life cycle that is, I guess, this in this young blackbird's life. And I really enjoyed that, and especially the ending of it, sign the goldfish in the blackbird nest. I think that was a little bit of a humor almost at the end of it. Like he could finally eat. And I think that I just like that note at the end of it. It's kind of a neat way to end it. Almost a bit of a personification too that I really enjoyed, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I really did.
Now this one caught me off guard, Zach, as I was reading it, and you said wandering but not lost necessarily. The lost part of it that I felt as I was reading this was, the run of the litter, like you had said, or the youngest of several siblings and all that, looking around and wondering, why are things different for me? Why am I so different? Why is this, not necessarily why am I treated different, more so than why am I different? Because there was no realization that the goldfish was trying to be a blackbird. And I didn't even realize that until I got down to the bottom. So it was so well read. And the categories were great, because each stanza was a new category after the first one introduced us. Flight lessons. House failed at the flight. Like, nobody sees this as a goldfish, not a blackbird. It's never going to fly, And then food. The siblings would bring her food and stuff like that. Winds rising. And all that stuff. And I don't realize it even at that point after the title. I don't realize it that far down until splash, when she hits the water and she says, the first line after that is, I can breathe. That makes perfect sense. A goldfish out of water, when she hit the water, she caught her first breath, realized who she was and where she should be. And everything was okay after that, when she accepted who she was and who she is going to be for the entirety of her life. She wasn't a blackbird. She was a goldfish. A little different than being in the nest and being a blackbird in a blackbird's nest. So it's kind of, this is a really, really great way to use those natural things on so many levels as a metaphor for accepting yourself eventually, and understanding who you are, and not putting yourself in a place where you feel bad about you because you aren't the person or the thing that everybody else is. You're different. You're unique. It's a very empowering piece after reading it and understanding it in its entirety. And I love how she walked us down there and then turned us. And I was like, oh, it is a goldfish, not a blackbird. That's the part. Doing that right when she did that in that poem was very well timed, and it turned it on its heel. And I like that. Well done. Great, great poem. What do we got next, Zach?
I just wanted to say thanks for mentioning that turn into that sort of blackbird into the goldfish at that point when the goldfish started to breathe. I didn't quite catch that until you mentioned it, so just wanted to say thanks.
Yeah, that was so subtle and powerful, wasn't it, Zach?
Yeah.
Looking back at it, you're like, oh, I get it. And I realized it after I read the line. I was like, oh, it was a goldfish all along.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a blackbird. That's why it went splat in the water.
That's right. Yeah.
So well done. Okay, what are we moving on to next, Zach?
All right, next up we have Merv's poem, and that's Sundowners, Curse of Dementia. And I'll give that a read. And the waning light of afternoon's retreat, a mind adrift in shadows bittersweet. Sundowners come with the fading sun's kiss. Whoops. Unraveling threads of time, a gentle abyss. Confusion stirs like leaves in evening's breeze, in minds where memories dance and tease. The clock's soft ticks lose their steady beat as twilight weaves its mystic sheet. Within the folds of dusk's embrace, restlessness takes its silent place. A journey through the dimming haze where night and day in whispers graze. Theories float like feathers in the air. Seeking reasons for this twilight affair. Changes in the brain or fatigue's cruel call as daylight wanes and shadows fall. Yet, amid the confusion, there's a guiding light, a beacon of hope in the encroaching night. With patience and love, we navigate the way through sundown's haze to the break of day. In the quiet moments of evening's hush, we find solace in the gentle touch. With routines set and care bestowed, we ease the path along this relentless road. For in the heart of twilight's embrace, there's a beauty in the gentle grace. And though the journey may be long, love's steadfast light remains ever strong. End poem. And little known fact about dementia is that as the sun goes down, the systems get worse. That was his little note.
That
Wow.
was powerful. I did feel you, Zach, get a little bit emotional through that piece. So I understand. If we know anybody that's ever suffered from dementia, it is a real problem for the entirety of the family, because most of the time it starts off as forgetfulness here and there, and almost comical, and then it builds over time and it speeds up and it quickens to the point of the word I'd never heard sundowners being used as that. And it kind of makes sense the way Merv's poem, that is well written and well described, but I hadn't heard that term before, and it makes perfect sense. And I think Merv's poem really handles this with care and compassion and kindness. Well done, Merv. I want to tell you that for sure. Well done indeed, because this is a kindness poem. And it's shedding a light on something that I was ignorant of. And I appreciate you doing that in a very kind, compassionate way that shines on some of the things we may not know about dementia and stuff like that. And you never know, one day it may be a relative or yourself there, and you learn these things. And my guess is, it is a terrible thing. I've had it happen at a distance, not real close, but at a distance. And I've heard, some of the things and stuff that have gone on, and it's a serious thing. So well done, Merv. I like this piece for its social education on humanity, and it's well written too. Zach, what are your thoughts?
I was immediately struck by, or mostly struck, I think overall, this poem brought me a sense of, there were concrete details throughout, but it was a sense of struggling to remember what is concrete about the speaker, about the speaker's life, about memories, as they dance and tease and theories that float like feathers. There's a sense of something that's that's not quite, you can't quite touch it. It's very close to being untouchable, and you could feel it slipping away as the poem kind of continues, and it's cruel in that sense, and it does literally quite shed a light onto dementia, and it's quite blinding in that way. It's guiding and it's blinding, and there's lots of shadows. It's got all that. It's quite a journey. And I was struck by the end of it. There was almost a sense of peace, I want to say, even though maybe acceptance, that love perseveres. I just there's sadness, and at the end of it there's hope, which I really appreciate. So thanks for sharing that, Murph.
Yeah, well said, Zach, and well done, Merv. Well done indeed. I really like that. Zach, what's our next piece?
All right, next up we have Yumpy's poem, and that is New York City in a Day. That's all yours.
Fantastic. I love that picture. If you guys are following along, that pic prompt, it's cool. It's kind of is that a Van Gogh, Zach? Do you know that?
Yeah, it looks like a Van Gogh.
It's done in that style.
Yeah, sure is.
It is. It's done in that style. Same color palette and everything, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Morning stretches its limbs over the city's spine. At the Met, marble arches rise like quiet cathedrals. Brush strokes flutter. A pharaoh smiles. A ballerina hangs in mid-pirouette, forever lost mid-air. Central Park exhales. Saxophones, soulful vibrato drifts across the lake. Pigeons scatter like racing thoughts. Bagel cart's aroma filling the air. A golden retriever in a Yankee sweater, chasing falling leaves. Soho buzzes, graffiti bleeds down brick, confessions. Storefronts glimmer, coffee-scented wisps drift through open doors. Somewhere, someone paints the night. In the village, the streets draw closer. History smolders in basement bookstores. Sidewalks echo with words once belonging to poets. We slip beneath a red awning into a jazz club where the bass smolders under neon and a trumpet weaves spells into the night. The city pulses, a living thing. New York City never sleeps. It's always listening. End poem.
I like that. Wow. It almost has a kind of like a staccato beat to it almost. There's like a lot going on. It's almost this one feels a bit like jazz too, a little bit. That I think there's a lot of cool nouns within it that feel uniquely New York. I mean, that's it. Uniquely New York. Central Park, and the golden retriever in the Yankee sweater. I really like that detail a lot. And you get sort of the characteristics of Soho, of this, from the graffiti to the storefronts and the coffee-scented wisps. It creates this immaculate setting, and that's just, again, unique to the New York experience. And I like the sense of history throughout, too. And that also is a callback to the first stanza, as a pharaoh smiles and a ballerina hangs in mid-pirouette. I really like that. I just imagine this is like kind of the New York that I like to think about, like sort of in the 60s, where all the poets and musicians were hanging out in Greenwich Village and stuff like that. And that there's still places like that in New York City, I think. And this poem harkens to that creative atmosphere that certainly thrives throughout the city. And I like you hear that saying that New York City is the city that never sleeps, but I like that that final line, especially. It's always listening, kind of turns that saying on its head a bit. And I just imagine like a giant ear listening to all this noise that's sort of surrounding the city. Really, really cool setting. What do you think?
Definitely romanticized New York in the most positive way. I didn't read anything about muggers or taxi cabs or sound pollution, noise pollution, or anything like that. This was the best vision of New York City you could possibly have, the city that never sleeps, and apparently always listens as well. And that's funny because if you're not sleeping, you can hear these things. So the city never sleeps. It listens. That makes perfect sense. I like the jazzy kind of feel to it too. Beatnik, mentioning Soho and the Village, all these parts of New York that I've never seen except for in movies and representations like that. And this being another one romanticized it all very well. And there's a history there that New Yorkers are very proud of. You mentioned the golden retriever and the Yankees sweater. You don't see that everywhere, but I bet you see it. If you was to walk through New York, you'd probably see it 50 times a day. Somebody's dog in a Yankees sweater. And that's kind of cool. I mean, you should have pride in your community, even if your community is way too busy for me to exist in, because that's what I'll say. Absolutely. This is a romantic piece about New York, but I have no desire to be in New York. I would love to see these things, but I was born in a very rural setting, and I like my towns of about 10, 12,000. Not 8 million or however many New York is currently. It's just too busy for me. I'd never be able to relax, which is what Yuppie's saying here. But I love this piece. There is a culture there, and there are things that I can't find where I'm from. I can't go to the Met. The best I've got's our county museum, unless I travel. So it's a great piece on the highlights and the beauty in New York City. And it's very romantic, Yumpie. You captured it in a way that is really romantic, and I appreciated that. So we ready to move on, Zach?
Absolutely. Next up, we have Lion Gautier's poem, and that's Antony and Cleopatra, and I'll get that to read. Egyptian goddess, impetuous and pompous, Cleopatra's conquests, at history's bequests, wielded a propensity for dramatic intensity. She snared the great Mark Antony, lured him into salacious surreality of whirlwind amorous insanity. Their thirst for world domination stirred a most legendary seduction, concocted in the heat of passion, from a cesspool of politics leveraging exponential cunning and beguiling struggles in a dance of supremacy, conniving betrayals with godlike fury. Their superpower alliance met all-consuming defiance. Unequaled legendary games fanatical, proving most problematical. Honor, deceit, and lies tragic. Loyalties and turmoil climactic. In the end, love, a destructive factor, with more than one malefactor. Hearts hopelessly infatuated, suddenly freed and elated, finally devoid of grief and strife, bound to reunite in afterlife. End poem.
Well read, Zach. That was a nice little rhythm there that poem had all the way through it. And I love the historical context, the accuracy and the historical context. Wasn't Rome just a hot mess? In some periods, Rome was just a hot mess, and they went ahead and tried to spread that hot mess all through the world, found Cleopatra, and kind of when Cleopatra was found, it was really everybody desire because of uh, her country and wanting those riches and all that, and to form an alliance through marriage and seduction and things like that. Because Mark Antony wasn't the only one. There were others, others that are just as famous and all that. Now, I find it fascinating that back then there was so much competition around the entire circle of the Mediterranean. I mean, that doesn't even take into account like North Africa, stuff like that, where things were going on. But the way this focused on the historical part, but yet adding those little poetic touches, the rhyming, really, I enjoyed the rhyming because this had a really nice rhythm all the way through it that was pretty easy and led you through the historical context almost step by step in perfect time. I really like that, Zach, because I mean, you and I both, we cold read here, and that's a cold read, and the rhythm was so easy to get and feel and all that. It was very well written. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a fun read. First and foremost, it had a bit of a rhythmic bounce, and I really appreciated the endings, the rhymes, and I really like how this is told from Cleopatra's perspective, Egyptian goddess. I think that's that Cleopatra, she thinks of herself as a goddess. There's that sort of that pride within her, and as she, conquers and conquests, she snares Mark Antony, of course. And I like how she says snared the great Mark Antony. I mean, like, she didn't just, I don't know, that's quite a word to use. That's a nice word choice. And it created this sort of chaotic atmosphere that was really like unstoppable, really, for quite some time. And it just emerged from this sort of political alliance that was really unconventional and unorthodox at the time. And it was definitely like a superpowered sort of superpowered alliance, and it was just like a snowball. It snowballed into so many destructive patterns and things. And as this poem mentions, it's very it has this sort of like sort of this all destroying quality to it. There's nothing redeeming about it. It's just I find it's often romanticized, but this poem doesn't do that. And I really like that a lot, in fact, about it. And it was just, it felt real. It felt real to the history that I've read about it. And it didn't, as I said, it didn't romanticize them. It rather, it definitely humanized them, but it didn't it wasn't, it didn't over sensationalize their what they were going through at the time. I thought that was really cool.
That, you know what, Zach, you're absolutely 100% right. It didn't sensationalize it. There was no real swelling up of anything to direct a reader's thoughts as you were reading it. It was kind of presented to you in a historical way with that subtle word you pointed out, snared. That really makes the tone of this piece negative, like negative towards
your intentions. Yeah.
Yes, because it was intentional. She went out to snare him like you would snare a rabbit or something like that to eat. That was her quarry, and she knew what she was doing. So you pointed that out. Well said, Zach. Well done. We're ready to move on?
Oh, yes, indeed. Next up, we have Aaron Farrow's poem, Round Out the Taste, and that's yours.
Here we go. Lost ingredients to make a lunch divine, so I'll pick them with him by my side. Tomato for the plucking, ripe as the brightest shade, red deep and heady in the vegetables bed. Next will be spinach, an ever-growing green, picking leaves aplenty, I hope enough to be considered obscene. Browning of the chicken in a tart vinaigrette to make it a dish of cannot forget. Finally, before the Parmesan sauce will be a pasta's ream. Let's make it fresh and all, flicking a memory into our scene. Fettuccine for the tasting, there won't be a bowl of waste. Get the Chardonnay to round out the good taste. End poem.
Wow.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was a sweet poem. That was quite sweet, almost like literally. I really enjoyed the how each member of the couple pitches in and really contributes to the meal in their own special way. And I really like you kind of see their bond that way, and sharing the kind of and sharing that organic sort of that food that's growing. It's a very organic kind of love too. I think to kind of grow sort of your own food like that, and to to do it yourself in a DIY fashion. I really like that. And it kind of, I imagine doing that with a significant other would definitely it would make the event that much more significant. I guess it's very sweet that way. It's the two could kind of put a lot of thought into it, and in their own special, unique way. It's a very telling poem, and all it is just picking vegetables and tomatoes from a garden, and in preparation for a meal. And there's, I could still sense the deep sort of love that goes sort of into that whole process. And this poem really does emphasize that a lot, and I really enjoyed that. What'd you think, Bill?
I'll tell you, I really liked the impromptu feel to this. It starts off immediately like lunch was going to be prepared, and they were like, oh, we lost the ingredients. So let's just do what we do. Go out to the garden organically, like you mentioned, Zach, organically. So there is the gist of this that I appreciate greatly is it's completely not sensual. It's not meant to be sensual. There's no, touching and petting and stuff, but it is intimate in a way that only two people can share that are completely in that moment, in that impromptu moment, doing it together and having the same direction. So there is an intimacy that is very clear in this and deeply appreciated. And I actually giggled because it was so sweet all the way through, and it was not really, I think it was just genuinely sweet, not a contrived sweetness, not a written sweetness. It's just genuinely sweet because of where it came from. It came from that intimate space shared with just one person. And there's kind of a scene that's being painted of we're making lunch together. I kind of envisioned it. I don't know if you remember the movie Ghost, Zach, but there was a scene where the clay is being molded and all that. But that seemed a contrived kind of sweetness to me in that movie, not a natural kind of sweetness like this in an intimate setting. So I really like this along that route, but it's so honest and so innocent and so perfectly nothing but everything. So it was well done. I really like that, Aaron. Good job. What do we got next, Zach?
Next up, we had Deborah Leo Five's poem, Demo Boots. And I'll give that one a read. In yonder twilight shadows play, moonlight's dancing bright. Demo boots stand, worn plumb away by time and endless night. Their leathers cracked, soles worn thin, faded tales they're telling of dusty trails and hard-won win, and stories that keep dwelling. The laces frayed, stitchings old, memories they hold tight, of footsteps taken, young and bold, and laughter shining bright. Their sense of sweat and leather stay, echoes of the past, of hard work, love, and joy and pain, and memories that forever last. His boots stand silent and gray, watching time go by, their stories whispered, come what may, in the wind's soft, mournful sigh. In moonlit nights, shadows dance slow, spirits walk the land, their footsteps echo, distant and low, a mystic secret stand. Their worn-out heels, testament true, to past once trod with cheer, their creaking sound, a memory anew of love, of life, of yore and tears. Them old boots wait, patient and still, for feet to fill their space, their stories waiting, unspoken will, a legacy of a bygone place. End poem.
Great read, Zach. Great read indeed. This is such a cute poem. So I do believe, Deb, and I'm going to say congratulations. These are front page picks, and I believe this was Deb's first one. Great, great to see you get one, Deb, and it's nice to be acknowledged for that, isn't it? But I started reading the author's notes, and it says, this poem is dedicated to my husband's old farm work boots. Isn't that great? Literally wrote this piece about a pair of old boots. And there's metaphors in there and things like that. So this could be this. When I first read it, I thought it was about someone who was no longer there and the boots were still there. And, you know, when you see them, you're reminded of that person is what I thought. But it's also done in like a cowboy country, old Western style of lingo, which I deeply appreciated because that's kind of hard to do if you're not terribly familiar with like old Westerns and stuff like that. Like I'm hearing it in a John Wayne voice, Zach. I heard you reading the words, but I heard a John Wayne voice. I really did. And that enhanced it to me. I was like, howdy, partner. But she used those phrases in here like they were absolutely natural to her. And I appreciated that. And then to go down there and see, this is just about a pair of boots. But is it really? I feel like she really appreciates her husband greatly. And she sees those boots and she thinks of him and it's like, oh, you know, look how hard he works for us. He's destroying those boots. So this is a sweet poem. It's very sweet and very kind and very well done. Hearing you read it, Zach, was a whole lot of fun too, by the way. I had read this one already and commented on it before, but hearing you read it, I was glad you drew this one instead of me because I wanted you to read it cold for the first time and see what your thoughts were. So go ahead and let's hear what you have to say, Zach.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like if these boots could talk, man, what stories they would tell. And, you know, these are like, that's like this poem. And, you know, despite the mileage in the boots, like the leather and the sense of the past intermingled with like the sense of time, they kind of stay. And I could just imagine, you know, the toil of the husband in the boots and just the sort of the weight that must come sort of with this with. I mean, I got a sense of like there was a lot of history behind these boots, a lot of stories. There's the stories are mentioned in a way that doesn't like generalize them or anything. They make them feel unique, and the way they're laced together. You can tell like there's some kind of I can only imagine. I mean, cowboy stories or something else, and this reminds me of that, like a tall tale almost. And but this seems a little bit more rooted in reality than that. And I really just like the personification of the boots and their creaking and all the Yeah, and all the jargon, all the sort of the country jargon that's sort of used, the dialect, I guess. I really like that as well. It seemed authentic. It read really well too. I really enjoyed the read. It was fun.
It was fun, Zach. Let's take a minute, guys, and let's discuss again, okay? Before we move on to the next reading or two between Zach and I. Guys, we love doing this. We do this because we're passionate about it. And anybody from our group, I urge you, if you have an interest in doing it, contact one of us. Let's get you started. We can do it. We can do it in a way that you will absolutely be able to practice and build your confidence and see what it's about. Because I remember when I first did this, Zach remembers when he first did this, the excitement of it. And it has not gone away, has it, Zach?
No.
We were just talking before this show how nervous we both were because it was our first show. Not our first show ever, just our first show in this series. And we were nervous and ready to go. And that energy is a good feeling. Lets you know how alive you really are. It's nothing. There's no better compliment either, from my opinion, as somebody who writes poetry, of having someone read it and really, really get it. And you hear the inflection in their voice when they're like, oh, and they catch the rhythm and they understand the one line. I can go back to just about any one of these poems that we've read so far today has had something in it that caught our attention, if not multiple things. Mm-hmm. That's like, holy crap. And I don't know if you guys hear it, but I rely on Zach when he goes first to say things, and then I try to relate what he said. Sometimes he'll shed light on things that I didn't see, and sometimes I'll shed light on things that he didn't see. So if we have 3 people on the panel doing that, it's even more thorough coverage of the poetry we're reading. And that's what we're actually doing here, is honoring your poetry, or trying to do. I don't want to dishonor it for sure. So do you got anything to add, Zach?
I just like the energy. I continue to feel just honored to be here, and it's great fun for me to do this as often as I'd like to do it for the group, and it's just fun for me too, as a lover of poetry in general. And I think that folks that have a similar love for poetry would especially enjoy reading their own and others, their other works of other poets, and really, like Bill said, gives the poem a sort of a new meaning if you read it yourself and sort of deliver it with emotion and kind of an inflection that you see with it. That's unique to the writer.
Absolutely, Zach. So we're ready to move on back to some poetry instead of me and you ad-libbing here. Let's get something scripted for me.
Sounds good. I think I'm up, right? I think I'm up next.
Please have at
it. Okay. That's a Perish Thoughts by Pac-Man, and I'll give that a read. If oft thou would come in search, find me not here nor there, but find me twixt the pine or birch, with dogs in hunt of fox or hare. Truth be told, I often ride, for pleasure it would seem. I mount the silver mare to guide, to our brome down by the stream. Wouldst thou look for me this August day, to laugh and kiss and hold my hand? Or shall we row around the quay, perhaps to picnic on the sand? Or shall we ride beneath the fringe, with horses and rig to view the canyon? Worry not, my favor you may impinge. Do offer yourself as companion, and if thou wish, I shall hold you near, where the sea breeze may rise as such. Neath the moon, I'll whisper in your ear, and you will hearken to my touch. These many thoughts have come to mind, there but to languish, then perish instead. I abhor the courage I had not to find, to speak of them before you wed. Poem. And Bill, I just wanted to say I apologize. I think you were supposed to give that a read. I flip-flopped the order a little bit.
Man, you did a fantastic job, Zach. I don't mind stepping aside and letting you do it. You did a great job on that. Actually, I have read this poem before. So it was better that you cold read it because you had never read it before, correct?
Correct.
I had read this because Pac-Man was having trouble finding the place where it was supposed to go on our list. And I actually populated it there for him. So when I did, I seen enough of it and I started reading. I was like, ooh, I got to read this. So it was actually better that you read it anyway, because I had already read it. But I love the piece. It was something that I enjoyed reading because you know me well enough to know, Zach, I like being twisted. I like being turned at the end. And that's what this poem did. Wasn't it lovely from start to finish? You were like, la, 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 la. This guy's in love. He's talking about this woman that he's loving and he's wanting her and he's saying all these things. And then you get down to the end, and down at the end, I abhor the courage I had not to find to speak of them before you wed. So she's marrying somebody else. She ain't marrying this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's thinking about all these things that, he's got in his mind. And then he doesn't do anything. Nothing. And then she gets married and there he is, all sad and all that. And he's had these visions of all these wonderful romantic things that he wanted to do with her and be with her. And they're beautiful. And then he's just left out. Because he didn't speak up. He didn't have the courage to say something. He didn't do that. And the rhyme scheme and the old style language, I think, enhanced all of this. There was a beat to it as you read it, Zach, and you read it very clearly the way I read it when I first read it in my head, except I wasn't reading it out loud. I was reading it in my head. But it was a beautiful piece by Pac-Man. It was a beautiful, sad piece in the end. It was a romantic piece for like 95% of it, and then straight kick to the face. That's what happened whenever I was listening to it. So it's a beautiful piece. What are your thoughts on it, Zach?
Yeah, that was like a gut punch at the end for sure. It just turned the poem around and flipped it on its head completely. That the speaker kind of, in a way, lacked the courage to sort of say these sweet things to this great love that he has. That just it probably will never get to say because she's already married, and that's a tragedy in of itself. And he kind of just it is just so sad. He's just imagining all of these events transpire. Like all these sweet things he would have done with her. He should have, could have, would have. This is almost grief. I think there's almost this kind of sense of like wanting to have all this stuff happen, but of course it's never going to be. It's never going to transpire. It's just going to linger in the speaker's mind. And that's sad. And you don't read it like that the first time around, but by the end of it, you just read that line, that those last few lines. I've heard the courage I had not to find to speak with them before you wed. That just it flips it, and it's devastating.
Absolutely devastating, Zach. By design, I think, Pac-Man, you really did a fantastic job there, gut punching us. Thank you. It really was good. I mean, I'm not saying that to be funny. I really appreciate being turned like that, whether it is with a funny piece or a sad piece or a triumphant piece or whatever. So well done. What do we got next, Zach?
All right. Next up, we have Erlovi's poem, and that's Used and Left. And I believe that's your read.
Some people, they come to me when they need something, talking like I matter the most. And when they've got what they want, they just disappear. I find them with their so-called friends. Who do you think I am? Some soulless creature, here to see through your needs? But when I need someone, where are you then? Gone like a shadow in the dark. Only showing up when it's convenient. Don't you get tired of pretending to know me so well. I'm not your backup friend. I'm not here to be used. Now I walk alone, no longer waiting for your return, because I've learned to see you through your fake smile. I don't need your pathetic time to accompany my existence. End poem. That was pretty clear, isn't it, Zach?
That was about as direct as it gets. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's fed up, aren't they? But go ahead.
This is like the very definition of fair weather friends. Like people, folks that just aren't genuine with their friendships, and they take they're just takers, and they don't give anything in return. That's not very beneficial as a friendship. There's just that dynamic just doesn't work in the long run. And as this poet, as the speaker knows this, and it's happened time and time again. In order, to the extent that the speaker could write this very direct, clear piece, that there's a sense of being solitary, but not loneliness. There's a sense of accepting being like, you know what, this is the way it's going to be. I'm going to, just be alone for the moment. And I know who, is real with me and who isn't. I think this piece is a bit of a self-realization, almost an epiphany. Because the speaker even says in the last stanza, because I've learned to see through your fake smile, I don't need your pathetic time to accompany my existence. So there's a bit of a resolution to that that conflict that's both personal with friends and sort of inside of the speaker. And it's very there's a bit of a narrative arc, and I really appreciated that for this. It's very well written.
Yeah, it didn't come off ranty at all. This is not skewed out of anger or anything. This is it's a realization over time. And it is odd because it takes us some time to understand, and it took me some time too. You have friends, you have acquaintances, you have people you meet along the way and stuff like that. They all hold pieces of you, of your existence. You have exchanges with them and stuff like that. But the more you get to know them, the more they become inner circle, move towards the inner circle. But your inner circle is fairly small, and you only have room for a few. So you have to be selective. I've always thought, if you live your entire life and you have 5 people that you can call friends, you're doing pretty good. You really are. Because if you have more than that and you're calling them friends, you're going to find out they're not. And that's the lesson. That's the lesson that's being taught here. There's a realization of someone that you thought was heading towards that inner circle, but they didn't belong there or didn't want to be there, one or the other. And there's an obstinance, standing up for yourself, a certain kind of courage that says, you know what, I don't need you. I don't need you in my life. You're not worth the drama, the rub, all of that, and fair weather friend this and all that stuff. But there's a strength to it, an inner strength where you can feel this person not seething, not angry. They just realized, I no longer need this person. They're not worth my time because they're not my friend. They're my acquaintance. So now when you see them, hey, how you doing? Instead of engaging them in meaningful conversation or doing things that are personal and intimate with those people. And it's funny because I just read Joe's comment on the board. Some people are energy vampires. Joe, are you sure you don't want to come on here and comment? Because you're pretty good at it. I like that comment. I just read. So this piece is about strength to me and realization. It's not about anger and hate and rage and all that. It's not ranty at all. And I like that. It's very straightforward. Whoever this was written about, and I believe it was probably written about one particular person, whoever this was written about has probably been cut out. So Well done. And it was a great piece of strength. Really appreciated it. Your thoughts, Zach?
Thought I already give those thoughts? I thought I did, or maybe I didn't.
I think you read, didn't you?
I read. Yes, right. Okay.
You had thoughts that I was blabbering on.
Um. Oh, actually, no, I did say them. I think you read it, and then I commented, and then you commented.
Boy, we need a third person bat. Who's going to step up here and help us out, Zach? Because we can't keep the rotation with two. So if we're ready to move on, let's move on and see what we got then.
Sounds good. Next up, we have Mike Horsfall's poem, and this is called High, and I'll give this one a read. I remember the house, high on the hill, a shiver of gray stone sagging into slate, its bones bruised by time's tender violence, moss on the walls, brambles, ivy crawl to hide, a patchwork sutured by shadow and dirt, like memories that cling as whispers. The paint fractures from the old green door, a battered splinter spine opening on rusty hinges, echoing the laughter of children, the weight of solitude. The sunlight bled in, fractured through ribbed panes of glass, dust mouthed and cracked, filling emptiness with what was no longer there. A bedraggled collie limps across the brown dirt path, against the backdrop of neglect, flecks of mud and muck sticking to his back and white fur, as if he carried the earth with him. He barks thin against the swollen quiet, his hoarse area mourning the ghosts of sheep and cattle. The hollow yard where no life bends now. Inside, the air fat with dust and woodlouse, the smell of damp old wood, stale nicotine, rinds of dreams curled at the edges, sun-damaged photographs lining the mantel, capturing faces that smiled long ago. Each glance a ghost of times past, reminding me of laughter shared over hot tea and cigarette smoke, rising like a prayer no one's sure they'll still believe. Right here in the dim light of the kitchen, the floorboards, too weary to groan, hummed their unfinished hymn as I wandered through rooms that held the weight of history. Wallpaper peeled itself from walls in surrender, revealing long-breathed echoes of my grandfather's voice, a voice gone, soft as stream water rising to recount what resilience looks like when the soil grows teeth and storms steal love, barehanded. Outside, the garden ran wild, a marriage of stubborn blooms, weeds entwined with wildflowers, the beauty of chaos, reminding me that life persists even in the harshest soil. And I understood in that moment that love can thrive in the most unexpected places, like a dog's bark cutting through the stillness, or a child's laughter echoing through the halls of an old farmhouse, outlined by a gray amber-tinged morning sky high on a hill. End poem.
Well read, Zach. Boy, that was a beauty to read and to hear you read. I really enjoyed that, honestly. I'm kind of envious. I would have liked to have given that a go too, but anyway, here we are. And what this is to me, I read his author's notes, and they're quite simply finding my voice on free verse. So my guess is, Mike is challenging himself with a little free verse that he's not used to writing so much. But his description of this is so neat because it is a nostalgic look at what I would venture to guess is a homestead that he knows from his family. That's what it sounds like. It alludes to a lot of different things, but the descriptors are very good, and Mike is very good at this kind of stuff. He uses words that are not so uncommon that they're confusing, but are perfectly placed and all that. I've always admired that about Mike and tried to pay attention to his style to see how it translates into something for me where I could learn something from him because he's very good at what he does. And the fact that he said he's stepping out into free verse, why not? We got to challenge ourselves to keep those fires burning, the creative fires. And this one did very well. I really liked the way it read, the way it sounded. It almost had, even though there was not really an intentional rhyme scheme anywhere, it had a smooth flow to it still. And that can almost be deceptive, like rhyme, whenever the flow and the syllables bounce and all those things. And it did naturally, Zach. The way you read it was perfect. By the way, I'll compliment you again on the reading, which is partially a compliment to you and partially a compliment to Mike Horsfall for how he wrote it. He made it very easy to read, didn't he, Zach?
You sure did.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah, I was just struck by this setting. This setting is very rich and lived in, and I could tell that this house has history. You know, from like the sun damaged photographs to the appealing wallpaper. It almost has an aura of decay that is not quite gothic. It's more, like you said, Bill, nostalgic. And there's sort of this a more peaceful ambience to it, and the setting is vivid and descriptive, and I could, you know, I could. It's particularly descriptive. I love how the dog's described, and where was it? Like, there was this odd thing that this cool descriptive that he used about the dog. It was like he said something about like an aria to describe the cattle, like as if the, you know, the dog was like howling a requiem for them. I really like that too.
Bedraggled was the word he used. I was looking for it while you were talking, Zach. A bedraggled collie.
Bedraggled collie, right? Yeah. that was just quite a cool almost like a cool addition to the setting. And it was just, again, very rich and lived in and nostalgic mostly, in a word. Yeah. And I guess I think there's still some life within this house. There's you know, the blooms that just won't quit. And it's chaotic in a way that's like it says, the beauty of chaos, but it's thriving in a sense. And there's still love there, like in the like it says, in the unexpected places. Like I could just imagine that kind of love thriving in the nooks and crannies of that place, and in all of its passages. I really enjoyed this one, and like Bill was saying, it does have a certain bounce to it, even though it's free verse. It reads very rhythmically without rhyming. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's really hard to pull off too, Zach. It takes some skill to do that. You have to be mindful of all the syllables and commas and everything, all the punctuation and the road signs to get the reader to read it as you intended. Well done on that one, Mike. I can't believe, Zach, we got this far this quick.
I can't either, man.
We're at about an hour and 23 minutes in the show, and this poem here was where we had decided we're going to end this episode for balance within the next episode. So want to make sure everybody knows that's listening out there. If your poem is on this list and it has not been read today, we will pick up right where we left off, and Zach has marked it on the list where we are. So show 2 will be the rest of these poems, and then maybe a couple of more if we can get a couple of more added too, because this actually went way quicker than I thought it would go. I thought it would be an hour and 45 minutes or so, pushing it and worried. So, but we don't want to do any injustice to any poem. So therefore we would prefer to read less and comment more. So we don't want to jam 22 poems in a show and comment for 2 minutes. So we have kind of gotten to this point on it, and that's where we want to end this show. But what we do want to do is thank every single one of you. And I'll go down the list because we do have a little time we can kill here. Let's thank Tressa Rose. Tressa, are you still here? Thank you for listening. Zachary Sneller's next on the list. I know you're still listening. Joe J, I know you're still listening down there. I see you on the board, just like the show. Well, I'm glad to see you guys. I don't know who Evertonhue is. Are you still here, Evertonhue? If you are, we thank you for listening in. And then Score B81, I know who that guy is. That's my buddy Brooks. Some of the artwork you see I've written to, that's the culprit right there that's challenged me to write to that silliness. And I say silliness with all respect, Brooks. You know, I love writing for that stuff that you send me. It's always a challenge. But there's so much going on here that's positive, guys. We're getting through the first one. We've about got it in the archive, don't we, Zach?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a joy. It was a joy all the way through. I want to thank you for sure, Zach, for being here, being the co-pilot that takes the rudder whenever I'm going to crash land us and helps me through this. And it really is a pure joy. I enjoy the laughter. I enjoy the mistakes. And I want you to know I'm keeping a tally, Zach, of how many times I was muted. And because I had tried to hit the button 4 times before I successfully did it, I'm up 4-0. I'm killing you.
You really counted yourself 4 times?
Yes, I counted myself 4 times for that debacle. So you're hands down winning. You got a really good head start on the muting.
Good to know, man.
Guys, this has really been a fantastic journey that for us isn't over. It's just beginning with this first show. And we're hoping there'll be many more to come. And we will have more opportunities for all of you guys to join in with us if you want. That includes you too, Brooks. If you're still listening, I know you are. We'll accept calls from you too. So anybody that wants to join in, please let us know. Let us get some practice in and get you started down this road because you're going to love it. This is me and Zach sitting here reading poetry to each other and having a good time and sharing our comments and our thoughts live. And it's a real joy. I know Tressa said 3 times that how much fun she had just practicing yesterday. And I think she read 3 poems, one of hers, one of yours, one of mine, and all that. And it was a joy. And she's attesting to that. So we do need some more help here. And we'll get there eventually. People will get brave enough to do it. I'm going to try to talk Joe into it, but I don't think she's gonna. She's dead set against it. Your thoughts on anything, Zach?
In general, just it's good to be here. It's very fun, and like I think I said, and it's just expressing my love for poetry and the group dynamic too. I just love this being a part of it, and honoring your poetry, and thanks for allowing me to do so. I enjoy it thoroughly.
We really are building a group here, aren't we? And I say we, meaning every single Parchie out there. We are really, really enjoying what we're doing. Zach, what does that music mean? We talk on the way out and the show's over. Sorry, guys, it's sad and somber. Little smooth jazz outro. Thanks for that suggestion, Brooks Smith.
Really does put the mind at ease as you're kind of just drifting out.
Just ease out the door. That's what we're doing. We're drifting off. And thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for everything you do to help this happen. Zach specifically, and all you contributors from the Quill and Parchment Society on All Poetry. That's where we are. Come join us there. Write us something and let us read it for you. Comment on it. It's a pure joy on both sides of it. What else you got, Zach? Anything exciting?
Not really. No. Not too much.
I guess I'm going to head off to the living room then and review how I did and how we all did with the wife. Everybody have a good night. We'll see you next week. We're probably going to do it at the same time. That way we maintain consistency till we figure out what works best for the group. For the Quill and Parchment Society and all the poets there. Good night, everybody. Good night, Zach.
Night, Bill.
Thanks for everything, man.